welcome to the very last part here of this campaign guide for the EMBER tier. Of course, we do have over roughly about 19 days until the tier is done, as of recording on the 19th of March. Of course, we are now on the final stretch, as mentioned. So we are using every single card now. I say every single card. I do not have a fair few of the SCs, so do bear with. I'm not going to be using penta either, because that makes absolutely A, 0 sense, and B, use won't have him. So, it quite literally is impossible for you to have him. Anyway, let's get into the campaign guide. So, starting off with 78, a lot of power matches in this, and we are going to be using Undertaker and Stephanie Vaquer here. One of them stages in which you could do like quite early on, or you could leave it till a bit later, and then just going from there, of course. So firstly, we're going to be using the Undertaker here against Alex Shelley. Of course, you can use Finn, Wade Barrett, Rick Rude if you've got Obafemi. Then you have Stephanie Vaquer. It's an F3 Steph. Alternatively, Raquel Rodriguez, Alexa Bliss. And then here, going to be a table use, so we would use a super move. You could use Razor, you could use Rick Rude. And then you just go from there, of course, and any other right arrow alternative, like a big boss man from backstage, maybe, if you've got enough backstage. So 7.5k, they're quite expensive. But of course, you can use that as well. A lot of alternatives in that stage, and lots of ways to do it. Stage 79 next is a speed and toughness related match. You got a fair few amount of speed matches in this sort of stages, because we do have Alexa Bliss. We have access to Bliss, which is going to be very helpful for us. Going to be also using who is better, Steph or Raquel? It is Steph. Also, a much better proc rate anyway, so probably the wiser choice in this. Of course, we do need Steph to get to 1.31. Then we are going to be using CM Punk as well. Alright. And that should be fun. Just checking matches. Yeah. And yeah. Right, sweet. Alright, let's go. Of course, using the Austin 316 promo as well, hopefully on Steph to get that win. Of course, beating Chris Sabin there. CM Punk. Of course, a free pro if you did manage to complete the quest and you got the free gift. And yeah, there we go. Also propped as well, which helps, of course, an F3 Steph there winning. And then Alexa Bliss here as well. Making that stage nice and easy. Of course, fair few amount of alternatives there. Just use anyone that you really want to. Alright, going through this very quickly. Let's go to stage 80. So we've got again Alexa Bliss and CM Punk being used, and that is basically the match. So we'll just go from stage 80 here. Of course, apparently we're not going to make it past Austin Theory, because Austin Theory is very speedy. And also, you'll quite see in the next phase, he is very speedy, especially in that 84 match, which we will get onto in a little bit. Of course, there is a very speedy Austin Theory. Alexa Bliss will take the second match. Can use Miss Elizabeth as well. Of course, we're going to be using Miss Elizabeth in this instance as a super move, but if you can get the stats on her, of course, we didn't use the support during that, so you may be able to get the stats on her, and you can do it without, perfect. But if not, it's fine, just use super move. You can use anyone, really, as long as they have a fair bit of match speed. I recommend about 700k speed, because it is a 1.36, it's rough about 680, somewhere around there. But yeah, that is that match covered. Stage 81 now is, again, Alexa Bliss. As you can tell, Alexa Bliss very useful in this campaign guide at the minute. But of course, we also will need to use Stephanie Fakir with the Undertaker's equipment. Of course, making that match very easy. What should make the match very easy, and it's a 1.153. And yep, as long as we use a table, we are more than fine. Of course, we're going to be using the table that we own. And then a manager of Marlies. Of course, with Punk, we're going to be using Charisma equipment. With Axiom, may lose that match. If so, it is a super move match anyway. It's a match that you are not meant to win. Really, because they are very good cards. Like, very, very strong in terms of their compatibility and stuff like that. So, of course, do consider that. You don't have to win all matches 3 stars if you don't want to. Of course, yeah, that will be a loss. Of course, feel free to super move that match, because that 1.2 million, not the best to face, really. Of course, Bliss taking on this speed match, sorry. It's Becky Lynch. And then Stephanie will be hit with a table. Then also hit Ivy Now with a table as well, making this match very easy. So, yep, just super moving that first match will give you 3 stars on that stage. Alright, stage 82, we are flying through this. And we've got a lot of power to deal with now. So, of course, we are going to be looking at power equipment for females and for males as well, because we do have one match in terms of the males. Of course, 1.1 million. They're on a male power match. Of course, using Zelina to help us out here. Of course, Raquel and Stephanie will be our tag of choice. Then we need to find another power equipment. Hopefully for Punk to have enough. He might not though, but if not, we will have a table that we can use, and nope, he will not be enough. That's all. Of course, we could use like an Undertaker, but equally you could use Undertaker with the hardcore belt, and assuming a right arrow, like for example, maybe Ray, maybe an alright option. Big Boss Man and with Barrett, if you can get either of them. Of course, 7,500 backstage tokens and completion of the then Now and Forever event. But here is a 1.6 million combined there, and then to a 1.6 mil. Of course, winning that. Of course, we are going to be using a table on CM Punk's match here. Of course, Undertaker with Barrett, much better options. Oh wait, whoa. We actually lost that? Wait, really? Oh, wait, yeah, because it's 30, isn't it? Forgot about that. But yeah, no. Just use Undertaker. Best option. Because I use someone who's not built in power at all. So, yeah, he would be a lot weaker than, let's say, an Undertaker. Like that, and yeah, that should be able to win. I'll just show it again, just to sort of prove it. Of course, Wade Barrett, as I've said 15 times now. Get a Wade Barrett counter in this campaign guide. Of course, a very easy win there for Stephanie and Raquel, as mentioned. Of course, we are using as a Lena manager. I forgot to support, but yeah, use a support on that, you'll be fine. Either way, as you can see, it was just showing that, of course, with support, be fine regardless. And then, of course, a super move on this match. Do not use them to use a compatible tag. So, for example, Big Boss Man Punk, if you really wanted to. Literally just anyone, so to say, you have an alright amount of toughness, and of course, like compatibility as well. But you can basically use anyone, so it's like compatible. But yeah, of course, there's no table on that second match, should you need it. Anyway, 83, and we are very close to being able to finish campaign. Of course, we do have a annoying match actually here with the female department. Of course, a difficult match. Of course, looking at Apple Pad 7 Taker for 1.09, which is more than fine. And Hardcore Championship. And then 2-pick plus support plus manager, sorry. And then could use El Grande and Punk for that tag match at the end. Of course, that's his kin there. Back again, second level in a row. Of course, then we're going to be using the Austin 316 promo, which you can get for 1,000 backstage tokens for the Pro, 500 per one. Not obtainable anywhere else except the WWE Vault. As you can see, they're very useful. So it acts as basically just a guitar, and then of course super move with them two, and you have done stage 83 of campaign. Okay. Right, and stage 84 now. Now, of course, we are going to be looking at El Grande Melicano here and CM Punk. Of course, lots of options you could use for that tag team match. Of course, you do need to defeat a very powerful Braun Breaker. But with this, though, we will be able to use Phil's equipment. Of course, you could also get Elio Lefort if you've got him for the Daily Streak 2 weeks ago. I forgot, so I do not have him. But of course, he is a much stronger option. Per se, of course, you can also use AJ Styles and Finn, which is the combination I'm actually going to go for. So if I use Finn Balor here, of course, you can use the Then Now Forever Finn as well if you really wanted to. So give him the Fuse mask. B, just shy of a mil. AJ hits over a mil, which adds up the difference, which is perfect. And then with Razor, now it's the way we're going to do it. We're going to do it with the Battle Pass card. Of course, you do have Razor. Undertaker's not going to have that equipment. It is going to be... I've forgotten who I used. Julius Creed I used for this match. And then that should be enough, which it is, because it's got the margins up regardless. And then we will need to swap Miss Elizabeth. And then we're going to be using Maxine. Of course, you could also use like an AJ Lee, but don't really need her. To be honest, Miss Elizabeth should be more than fine on her own regardless. Of course, using that. And then we're going to be using a universe. Well, I say universe, we're going to be using skipping, but Ember universe is better anyway. So there is no concerns about that match. Actually, no, is AJ Lee bad? I don't think she is. Give me a second. Let me have a check. I think AJ actually might be a bit better than Elizabeth because of the thing. Well, won't be able to test because Maxine's got the equipment on, so puts back that 10 grand. And no, Elizabeth is better. She's better just about, but she's better, even with no variant, so which is kind of shocking actually, really, if you think about it. But yeah, Miss Elizabeth is better than AJ Lee. Granted, though, she just does have momentum, so probably explains why she's better. But of course, with variant, very much fine. Of course, Razor will need to proc though for his match, and I'm going to be using Ted DiBiase. Of course, I would put momentum on Finn Balor as well, mainly because of this. Saying that though, knocking half of Austin Theory is around 980 sort of K, and then this is around, no, this is 930, 975 there for 935 for Brom. So we are more than enough anyway. It's just mainly that power match, and then of course the female match. That's why that we should be most concerned about. Of course, assuming Razor Ramon procs, Julius Creed may also need to proc in this. When I did it for Penta, both of them did have to proc, neither of them procced, which is very annoying. But I'm not gonna, waste a lot of people's time here waiting for him to proc. But of course, using the universe with Miss Elizabeth and Maxine, they will win once. Of course, Razor does proc, 167k proc for Razor, so feel free to consider that. And then I'll just show the super move, assuming you win the other two matches pretty easily. AJ Styles on 2.3, Finn Balor on 2.1. And then, yeah, of course, AJ Styles would have carried Finn Balor, but he has done it regardless. So, yeah, of course, waiting for a Razor proc, that'll be your biggest chore. Of course, you do have alternatives, so with this, but again, wouldn't say it's really worth the hassle. So yeah, just gonna show it. So yeah, if Razor did actually proc, they would have won on their own. So Julius now no longer needs to proc, thank God. Of course, Razor a 20% chance. With this, Razor's proc would have influenced that by over 300k. So consider that. Of course, plus everything else, and that makes a win. And these two win very comfortably. Of course, AJ there with that big super move win. And that is the end of your campaign guide. So I want to thank everybody for watching this series, of course, if you watched it. And we will see you again for the next tier. Goodbye.